to Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Pace Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember, when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show.
Love you.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 136. We have got an incredible show for you tonight. Of course, with me is Jamil Damji. Jamil, say hello.
What's cracking?
And we've got Laura Morby in the house.
Hi.
Wow. I was just going to say, did Pace just become the most beautiful woman? Look at this.
He transformed. Yeah, that's it. No, we've got the king of foreclosures here, and we're going to really break down how to get foreclosures postponed so we can get our deals closed. So everybody that is active, we've got over 200 already active. Make sure that you put in all of your questions if you are dealing with any kind of foreclosures. This is your opportunity to get those questions answered. But let me crack this open with a line out of this. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I love this. I think you'll love it, Jamil. I think you'll love it, Laura. Here it is. Your real resume is just a catalog of all of your suffering. If I ask you to describe your real life to yourself and you look back from your deathbed at the interesting things that you've done, it's all going to be around the sacrifices you made, the hard things you did. However, anything you've given doesn't matter. You have your forelimbs, your brain, your head, your skin. That's all for granted. You have to do the hard things anyway to create your own meaning in life. Making money is a fine thing to choose. Go struggle. It is hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's really hard, but the tools are available. It's all out there.
I love that.
What do you think?
I mean, it's the most real thing that you could possibly say, Brent.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly why we're here. I am so becoming more and more aware that every single day that I have to overcome an obstacle, I have to go through a painful situation, and it happens to everybody. Like right now, I'm dealing with a health situation with my father. He was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm not used to this. I'm not used to dealing with the mortality of my family, of my parents, and it's devastating on me. And so understanding that and knowing that I still have to push through, I still got to show up every day. I got to do my work. I've got to do my lead gen. I still got to do the things that are important to me and my company and my business and myself for my own well-being, but also realizing that I have to do this through painful times. That's what grows us.
That's what grows us. That's absolutely right. My dad went through it about 10 years ago. So I wish your dad all the fastest healing possible. So, yeah, a lot of prayers going out that way. Laura, let's talk about foreclosures. Let's talk about pre-foreclosures because I think there's a big difference here with a 3-letter word there that goes before. Yes. So what is a pre-foreclosure? What is a foreclosure? Because this gets messed up.
I mean, sure. So pre-foreclosure, do you want to talk about 90 days late? We've got a sale date? Yep. Well, okay. So this means that people have missed 3 mortgage payments. They have received a letter with the intent to foreclose on them. And now they only have one chance. And I think this is the most powerful thing that I can say, and I'm going to come right out and say it, is once they reach this point, they can no longer make partial payments. The bank will not say, okay, well, make your mortgage payment this month and then just eat away at it, $1,000 by $1,000. That's not allowed. They have to catch up all of the missed payments, all of the late fees. And now there's been an attorney who's been hired to foreclose on the property. And so they have to pay all those attorneys or trustee fees together. So that's a massive lump sum. So if you think about that, so any of us, if we had to take 3 months worth of house payments, late fees, an attorney's bill, it's usually about $2,500 to $3,000. Could you just come up with that? No. And if someone's missed that much, they've exhausted all their other options. They've maxed out credit cards. They've asked friends. They've asked family. So they're at the last, they've gone through their savings. They don't have anything else to do. And so they need us to come and be able to give them a solution out of that situation.
Right.
And it's terrifying too. It's embarrassing and it's terrifying.
Because it's public notice.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yep. And it's scary to think about. You don't have to have a family. It's scary to think that the place where you're living, you're not going to have it anymore.
Right.
It's scary.
And that's a lot of it. Working through those emotions with the property owners, especially if they've owned a property for a long time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or they inherited a property and they went and they pulled out some equity through a home equity line, or they got some other mortgages. I mean, you see people in our market, in a lot of these appreciating markets, pull out money on a yearly or 2-year basis to live off of and to spend. And that's when you see they get into those situations where the payments, they just can't make it anymore. Now, statistics showed 90% of the people, and this was just from the last couple of years during the whole pandemic, 90% of the pre-foreclosures did loan modifications. Right?
Yep.
So we're not talking about the people that have got these loan modifications. We're talking about people that this is going to go to sale.
Yes.
They cannot, they need to sell this property.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. They need to sell it. Otherwise, they're going to lose it. And if you think about, well, you know what? We'll just let them foreclose. And I actually got into this conversation with one of my old bosses. And I had that whole thing where it's like, okay, should they just list with the realtor or foreclose? And it's like, absolutely not. Because not only is foreclosure devastating because you don't know when it's going to happen. You have to get out really quickly. And you can't buy a house for 7 years.
7 years.
Not only that, but the bank has every right to go after that person for a default deficiency judgment. So that's another thing that people don't think is when you're dealing with this demographic of our real estate market, this seller, it's everybody. It's all over the country. They stick their head in the sand. They're embarrassed. They're like an ostrich. They wait until the very last minute. And if you have someone that doesn't want to talk to you, or you can't get them off the fence of wanting to even meet with you, telling them hey, if the bank sells this for less than what is owed, if it goes to the auction and it sells for less than what you owe, the bank has every right to go after you and just put a judgment on your credit for that amount. That's crazy. That's so scary. So it's not like you're just going to lose your house, but just randomly in the next couple months, you might see that you got a $56,000 deficiency judgment.
I've seen it. I've been in it. I had a $1.8 million deficiency judgment put against me. I paid every dime of that back, but it happened. And
Awful.
They will absolutely, especially if you're talking about those people. For me, it was a building, and so that's why it was such a large amount, right? But banks are ruthless, man. If they are owed money and they can find, if there's a way that they can get access to something that you've got, whether it be vehicles, whatever it would be, they are going to come for their pound of flesh.
Yep.
Do you know, because I foreclosed on 5 properties in the downturn. I didn't have a deficiency judgment. I think there was a lot of foreclosures going on. Do they pick and choose deficiency judgments? Is it
It's
a
not
certain kind of loan?
It's random. And back then it was I don't think that if I remember correctly, I went with my boss to a panel where he was on stage with Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. She was in charge of their loss prevention department, and she got up there and she was straight up honest with all of us. And she was like, we don't know how to handle this. We don't have the staff for it. We don't have the training for it. We don't have the policies and procedures in place. And so they started learning, but it took them almost 2 years of just chaos for them to start getting things into place. So you had a lot of people that, they would get a notice that their house was going to sell, which means they've already missed 3 payments, and then it wouldn't foreclose. It'd keep getting postponed and postponed and postponed, and they could stay there another 2 years without making a house payment.
Yep.
And so because that was happening, people kind of got comfortable, like, oh, that's going to happen to me. And then I think that probably happened with you, where in that situation, there was no policy or procedure in place. And so you just kind of think, as a blessing, slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jamil, what is the difference? Do you know difference between a mortgage and a deed of trust? You know what I'm saying? Because here in Arizona, we have deed of trusts, and other places they have a mortgage, and it's a different process for foreclosure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Is that right?
My understanding is that it's either going to go through a court process or it's going to go through a trustee process, right?
Right.
And so the deed of trust, and that's why when you're talking about Arizona, they record deeds of trust, and that's what encumbers a property when you've got a loan against a property. A trustee is the person that's controlling that, right? So when you default, the trustee is who's going to take over your property and send it out for auction. When you have a mortgage, that typically indicates that you're in a judicial state, and that's going to mean that they're actually going to have to sue you in order to get the property back, which is an entirely different process. It takes much longer. That's why people in those judicial states, they tend to have a much longer window of that pre-foreclosure time. And so it allows wholesalers or people like real estate agents enough of a runway to get in there and actually help those people out. And so really, the reason why most real estate investors like to invest in trustee states over judicial states is because you can actually take a property back much quicker. And so you're
talking about lenders, right?
Lenders, yeah. You will not find a lot of hard money lenders in judicial states just because it's so difficult to get a property back there.
And probably a lot more costs involved.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, just them not getting their payments on their on their money for a longer period of time is going to it's going to be more. I mean, they're going to lose more each month.
Yeah, and those attorney's fees for all of that time too.
So how do we prevent this? How do we stop this? How do we save people from having a foreclosure on their credit for 7 years?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And really restricting their ability to go out there and get past this thing. There's certain, you go through certain things in life.
Yeah.
And then a year or two later, things have changed.
Yep,
Right.
yeah.
Things can change so quickly. When it's 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years. That's
Awful.
a long time to not be able to own property or to buy property with reasonable terms, reasonable interest rates. So how do we prevent people? I mean,
well, you need to get in front of them. And so Mr. TTP right
That's
here, the best thing that I can say is some people are like, should we text pre-foreclosures? Text them, door knock them, call them. They are going to be inundated with people calling them. How I was successful in getting people into my office to talk to me is I humanized it. And I was like, look, you're getting called 95 times, and this is embarrassing. Maybe your wife doesn't know, maybe, and all these people too, like, again, you got to put yourself in their head. Not only have they exhausted all of their options and their savings is gone, their credit cards are maxed out. Maybe they're not paying for their cars at this point. They've borrowed money from a friend or a family member. To get to that point, there is usually something that's going on, especially at a time like this when we're not seeing a massive dip in value.
Right.
It's, divorce, illness, death, like you're dealing with stuff like that. And so I think if you can just look at that and say, why I'm successful is I have so much compassion for this demographic of the market. And I'm just like, look, I understand how it feels. My family went through it. My dad got foreclosed on in the last recession. And now my dad will have to work every day until the day he dies because this happened to him. He put every penny that he had saved for retirement. I know how you feel. I know how scary it is. And if you can tell them confidently, I can help you. Let me help you. Please don't wait. You can wait until you're 1 week away from losing your house. And my solutions for you are going to be few and far between. If you let me help you now, I can give you more options. And so
let's go over those options, Laura, because I think what people need is when they're door knocking a pre-foreclosure, or they're cold calling them or texting them, whatever the TTP method is. What I want to understand is what bag of solutions can they walk up to that house with, right? Because I feel like you're literally like a doctor there to save a life. So I need to let's talk about what are the procedures, what are the surgeries, what are the diagnostics, how do we save the life?
Oh yeah. So it's you calling it a doctor diagnosing is exactly how you should treat it. First and foremost, you need to get them in front of you. So don't offer them solutions on the phone. They're going to take what you said and they're going to hang up and they're going to wait and call you if they remember your phone number. And if you're good at follow up, which hopefully everyone here is good at follow up, you want to get in front of them. Okay. If you can get in front of them, you're going to be in good shape, because then you're really going to see what's going on. You're going to see the poop. Like, where did this begin? What are we dealing with? Do you have equity? Do you not have equity? It needs to be a situation by situation business or deal, because I think a lot of us are like cash offer. Cash offer. And sometimes that's not exactly the solution that they need. And so if you're just coming in just straight cash offer, you're going to miss out on all of this other opportunity. So do they have equity? If they have equity, then, you could still give them a cash offer and they can make some money, but they're trading some of their equity for a quick turnaround
Speed and convenience.
You could refer them to a trusted realtor that you at least have time, if you have time, because you cannot postpone a foreclosure sale if you don't have an accepted contract. So referring them to a real estate agent when you don't have time to list, find a buyer, close with a traditional buyer that's going to have to go get a loan, that might not be the best solution depending on the timeline, but that is a solution.
So is it fair to say that solution number one, or step number one, is let's postpone this foreclosure? Mr. Seller, Miss Seller, I've showed up at your house. I have my bag of diagnostics here. We've diagnosed you're in foreclosure. You're in trouble. My first prescription that I can do for you is to postpone this foreclosure so we can create more opportunity for solutions. And the best way that I can do that is by entering into a purchase and sale agreement with you. Would you say that is step number one?
Yep. And sometimes that's the best way to get somebody off the fence, is to say, I can't help you unless we come to terms. Like, we need to get a contract done. Like, if I'm going to buy your house, I'm going to buy it cash. We need to get a number because I need to go to your bank. Your bank won't talk to me. We won't be able to postpone this thing. We need time. I can close this in 2 weeks, but we've got 7 days. So like, I need a contract. We need to figure it out. And so because this is something that's kind of like misty, like, this is so weird. How do I actually postpone a foreclosure? I didn't mean misty, but mystifies people.
There's mystery.
Yeah, there's mystery. If you can confidently tell them, I can postpone your sale, or I'm the one who can help you out, you can get the deal.
What documents are required for somebody to have that sale postponed? So I'm going to show up. I got a purchase and sale agreement. Do I need an authorization form? Do I need anything else signed so that I can deliver this to the lender to have a postponement?
Well, you do. Okay, so you need an accepted purchase contract. You need a proof of funds, because no lender is going to talk to you unless, like, if you just got a purchase contract, it's like, okay, but like, can you actually close on this?
Who are you? Right.
Yeah. So you need a proof of funds, and then you need what's called a seller authorization form. And it depends on lender per lender. Usually they'll take a generic one, and I have a generic one that I can post a link if you want. You can just take my information out and put your own in there. You don't have to be anybody. You can just be, Jamil Damji off the street. You don't have to have any sort of designation. You don't have to put the company you're with. You're just authorizing that lender to speak to you on this seller's behalf.
Beautiful. How long does the postponement last? Because I believe if I'm a person that's showing up to the door, knock, knock, you've got so many days before your house is going to auction. I've got my bag of purchase and sale agreement, my seller authorization form. I got my proof of funds here. These are all laid out for you, Mr. or Miss Seller. You can see that I'm a legitimate person. I've got the funds to close, and I've got the capacity to postpone your foreclosure for how long? How long will we allow that? Because some people don't want to leave for a little while. So how long can we give these folks time to go find another house, to go find another rental, to go figure out where they're going to live?
Yeah, it's usually a 30-day postponement, but when you're dealing with that, you don't want to run up your closing right up until the next date that you got. And so I like to either work out a post-possession where you do a holdback of the seller's funds, and just get the thing closed. Like really, like I know we're getting a postponement, but we also don't want to drag our feet as the buyers. We want to get that thing closed.
Awesome.
Nothing worse
what a great
than
solution.
It accidentally getting sold out from underneath you. That's pretty crappy. So
absolutely. And so let's talk about that, because I think that's a ticking time bomb that a lot of us don't realize is sitting there. So you're talking about the auction date, right?
Yeah.
Is there times when a house goes to auction prior to the auction date? Do they ever sell it before that date? Is there ever a time that they don't allow the postponement? Do they ever say, hey, I won't allow this postponement, and then you think it's going to happen and it doesn't?
Absolutely. Yes. There's a few times I'm pretty annoying. I like to call, like, I'm not annoying, but I'm annoying. I'm pretty what do you call it? Tenacious. I'm pretty tenacious.
Yeah.
So if anyone's going to get a sale postponed, it's me. I will work on it constantly to make sure I get it done. But yes, there are times where you just can't postpone.
Why not?
It usually is, to be honest, it's bureaucracy. It's like some hourly employee.
Yeah.
Because what you're dealing with when you're asking for the postponement, you're dealing with call center employees. You're dealing with, a $15 an hour employee that doesn't give a crap if her employer loses money, doesn't give a crap that your seller might lose the house and not be able to have a place for their kids for Christmas. They don't care. And so sometimes it is policy and procedure. And it usually is when the sellers get too close to that auction date that you start to run into those problems.
How close is too close?
I mean, I postponed an auction that was supposed to go up at 11 a.m. and I got the auction postponed at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not possible, but I've also talked to some lenders. They're like, unless we've received this request 14 business days prior to the sale date, we're not even touching this. And it's like, I'll hang up and I'll get someone else on the phone. I ruined those call center, what do you call those? With those
switchboards?
I ruined their, they're all graded on like metrics. If someone calls, metrics. I ruin their metrics. Like if you don't give me the answer that I want, I am hanging up and I'm calling right back. Awesome. And they track that. They know if their rep didn't do a good enough job, and I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling back. But I don't care. Like
do you have
I'll
to
keep
scan
calling.
something and send it in?
So your seller auth needs to go to them.
Right.
But sometimes you don't have enough time for the auth. And in that case, you would do what's called a verbal auth, where you go through the whole process. You dial the 1-800 number, you press all the options, you put in their loan number, you put in the last four of their social, you wait. And then you tee up your seller. Hey, I'm going to call you when I get through this. And I want you to authorize me to be able to talk to them. And, okay. So you do that. You get on the hold with your rep and you say, hey, is it okay if I get, the seller on the phone with us to give me authorization to talk to you? And usually they, him and haw and like, if this isn't fast, I'm going to have to move on to the next caller. And usually more, you catch more bees with honey than vinegar, or flies with honey than vinegar. So you just go, totally understand that 100%. Just give me a couple seconds. Let me get them on the phone. 3-way them in, have them give you auth. And then usually that will last for 24 hours. Rare occasion it lasts for that phone call, and that sucks because your seller is going to be annoyed. But I was doing a training on this for PACES students, and I was like, I am the Kool-Aid man. I will run right through every brick wall that you put up in my way. I don't care. Like, I am so passionate about this. I will Kool-Aid man right through that. Like, I'm going to get it done no matter what. And so I told his students, I was like, if you're getting somebody that's like, well, I couldn't help them because I had to send in my seller authorization and it took them 24 to 48 hours to receive it and review it and put it on file. It's like, you're a jerk. Get out of my way. I could have done that. I would have immediately gotten on the phone and done verbal auth, and I would have done everything I could. You wasted 2 days. They lost their home because you didn't try hard enough. And so in my opinion, there's no excuse for that. But I am, again, like I said, annoying, but I'm pretty successful at this.
And what number do you call?
You have to, so that's really important.
Right.
If you're going to call the generic customer service number, feel free, but only to ask if they have a loss prevention or a foreclosure department. Don't
say that again. What do you call?
Loss prevention, or even better, foreclosure department. Not every banker, lender, or servicer has enough of a staff to have a foreclosure department, but don't even waste your time because you will talk to them and they'll have no idea what you're talking about. And if they pretend like they do, they're going to give you wrong information. Like, just get out of their way. And, if you can't Google, say it's, Mr. Cooper, if you can't do Mr. Cooper Loss Prevention Department and nothing comes up, call the generic number and say, I need to talk to the loss prevention or foreclosure department. And if they're like, okay, let me transfer you, be like, hey, before you transfer me, please give me that phone number. And then that's the phone number that you call directly, because you're going to have to call multiple times.
Is it on any paperwork that the seller would have?
Sometimes, but you know what? I will find out. These sellers not only are ostrich head in the sand, it stresses them out so much that they throw them away.
I know.
And it's like, again, this is not saying that this is like a once off. I have done this for thousands of sellers, and it's like 99.9% of them are like, this is so stressful. I'm just going to, I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
If it's not here, it's not real.
Get rid of that negative energy.
Yeah. So sometimes you have a hard time even like getting a loan number, because it's like they've been throwing away these notices. They've been throwing away their mortgage statements, and it's just,
So when you call them, what should you have prepared so that you can get through the gatekeeper and get some opportunities?
Oh, yeah. So I just immediately come out and say what I want. I say, I want to postpone the sale. And you say, I have my purchase contract. I have my proof of funds. Where can I send this?
Yep.
And then if I care, I'll be like, what's your policies and procedures? But usually that puts more of a roadblock to me than it does to help anything.
You need to have the loan number.
You do need to have the loan number.
Okay.
And a lot of the times the seller is wrong, because again, they're throwing away their stuff.
Yep.
So I'll usually say, hey, this is the loan number I have, because at that point you have authorization.
Right.
So you're good as a seller. Then I'll say, hey, can you please confirm the loan number? This is what I have.
On the authorization, does it have the loan number on your
It
authorization?
sure does.
Right.
It has the borrower or borrowers. And keep in mind, this is another thing to note, is a lot of times these are divorce situations. And so you have people who are divorced. And then so you're talking to the person who got the house in the divorce. Well, guess what? Even if they took their spouse off the house, if they didn't refi the loan, meaning completely requalify, get a whole new loan and remove them, guess what? That ex-husband is still on the loan. And so I deal with really tricky situations, domestic violence, really nasty divorces. And you have to even be more caring in those situations, because a lot of times maybe a wife doesn't want a husband to know her new phone number or where she lives, but you're going to have cooperation. Whoever is on the loan, not on the deed. People get so confused about this all the time. Like, well, my husband's not on the house anymore. It's like, no, he's still on the loan. So when you get your auth, you need both borrowers, if there are two, both of their last four of their socials, the loan number, and that's how you get it done.
What happens if one of the spouses is just not playing ball, just says, you know what, I don't care if we lose the house to foreclosure. I want that person homeless anyway, so good. But what if you come across a jerk like that? How do you deal with that? Is there any way around it, or are you just stuck because one of the people just doesn't want to play ball?
Well, if they're still on the loan, they're still responsible. So that deficiency judgment can still hit them. And so I know it's not a guarantee, but usually that's enough to get someone to cooperate. Hey, if this goes to sale and it sells for less than what's owed, you might just get a nice hefty judgment that you have to pay no matter what. I know you don't like her, but I always do the neutral thing. Like, I know I originally talked to her and originally talked to him. I want to help you both. Like, whatever is between you, and I'm here to help you too.
Awesome.
Let me grab my baby.
Yeah, grab the baby.
It's incredible, Brent, to hear just how many options we can provide a seller when they're in this situation. And it's my opinion, I've walked up to and I've door knocked pre-foreclosures in the past many times, and it's so interesting to me to meet somebody who is in desperate need of help, and they are just pushing you out the door. They want nothing to do with you. They want nothing to do with your help. And I've always wanted to find out, what is the magic thing that we can say? Hi, Monday. What is the magic thing that we can say to somebody to get them to at least understand that we come in peace, we come to help? Laura, what have you found has been the way that you've been able to connect the dots there with a seller's mentality and mindset?
I have to go back to what it originally was, to not embarrass them, to tell them that you've been there And if you guys haven't been foreclosed on, all three of us have.
Yeah.
Use one of us. Use your mom. Use your dad. Use your sister. Tell them that you understand how they feel. Tell them that you understand that it's scary. Acknowledge that they're talking to multiple people and confidently tell them, I can help you. Please do not wait until you're a couple days from losing your house. Let me help you. And I think that it comes out across really clear when I'm cold calling these people that they're like, I'll get angry, like, you already called me 72 times this week. And not me. Okay. This is the first time I've called you, even if I have called them 25 times. More than likely, it's other people that they think work for the same company and just say, I know it's terrifying. It's embarrassing. But please don't lose your house.
Yeah.
Let me help you.
I'm calling because I care. I'm calling because I've been through this. I'm calling because I want to prevent you from this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can get that. You can get your conviction out 100%. And we've got a bunch of questions here that we're going into. But before we do, Jamil, you look fantastic. Holy cow. The lighting, the camera, the microphone. Is Bobby with you?
He absolutely is. Yeah. You think I could do this myself?
Oh my gosh. You need to take him everywhere, bro. You are just glowing. You look fantastic.
Thank you. He did a great job. He set me up in a hotel room over here. He's got basically, I feel like I'm in a podcast studio, but I'm just at some spot in Atlanta. It's amazing.
You're still in Atlanta. Awesome.
I actually stayed the night so that I could be on Wholesale Hotline tonight, and we're flying out tomorrow morning.
That's for real.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you for being on here. And next week we're here. The following week we're going to be at Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets. We're going to
in San Diego live.
Together.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah, I am actually going to be in San Diego.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's get to some of these questions because I think that there's some great ones. Go ahead, Matt. Just start throwing them up.
But while we're doing that, I just wanted to remind everybody that we've got a challenge coming this Wednesday to Friday. I am going to be doing a challenge with Tariq El Musa where we're going to help people figure out the beginning to end process of getting a deal under contract. First finding a deal, getting it under contract, and selling that deal. And we're going to do it all over 3 days. I have a link in the chat right now. If you have not yet registered, we are limited on our capacity for registrations. And I believe we've only got room for another 100 people. So guys, get on that list.
Jump on there.
Right now.
Jump on there right now. It's going to be gone it's going to be gone by Wednesday, guaranteed.
100%.
Every time they are. So jump on there, guys. Souza, owners don't know that they have another way out. Quiet title. Can you touch on that? Do you do quiet title?
Not really. I don't usually. There's other better, more beneficial ways to help them out than that. So no. But can I change a diaper?
Yeah, go do your thing.
Sorry, I'm going to change a diaper, everybody.
Jamil, any experience with quiet title?
I've not a lot of experience with them. It's not a very used process, and I don't believe that every time when a house goes through a quiet title situation or transfer, that title is insurable all the time. And so there's pieces of there that still leave a lot of issues for the buyer. And here's the deal. I don't know a lot of buyers that want to take a property if they can't get title insurance on it.
Right.
I mean, even though title insurance isn't the most protective thing, and I've seen title companies renege on it. I've seen title companies fight you for it and not pay out. I've seen all kinds of shenanigans when it comes to title insurance, but still it is a layer of protection that many, many buyers and lenders require. And so the quiet title process, albeit helpful, I don't believe it's always the best solution.
Well, you can't get a conventional loan without it.
Right.
You can't get a hard money loan without
title insurance. Exactly.
Title insurance is so bananas because they literally ensure that they did their job right.
Right.
It's amazing. Because they run the title and then they make sure that they did the job right and they get insurance on that, which is interesting.
I was listening to Pace.
Great business.
He had an analogy. He said, if you're at a grocery store, I'm probably going to butcher this. So when Pace watches this, I hope he doesn't get mad. But when you're at a grocery store, you've got the cashier, right? They're checking out all your stuff, and once it's done, they give you a receipt, and that receipt would typically tell you exactly what you bought, and if you got any coupons or any promotions or whatever, and or any discounts. Your Ralph's or your Fry's discount will take off the whatever the amount is. But title insurance is like on your way out the door, the store manager coming and tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, how about I charge you a couple $1,000s just to make sure that my cashier did their job right?"
Right.
And not only that, but I'm going to force you to pay that $2,000 because if without paying me that $2,000, you can't even get a loan. Without
you can't leave.
You can't leave.
You can't leave the grocery store.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to pay the $2,000 to ensure that my employee did their job correctly.
I've had that conversation. I've had that conversation, Jamil, with so many escrow reps, and they're like, well, you just never know what could pop up. It could be, stuff that pops up from before they had electronic records or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I get it. Listen, if you go into a country where they don't have title insurance and they don't have records, it's a mess. So
Absolutely.
Thank God that we have it. We can complain about it a little bit because it is silly, but thank God we have it. All right, Eric, owner heading towards foreclosure, but is over leveraged on the property that will not rent enough to cover a seller finance. It depends. I mean, you could get a loan modification on that property, get the payments, much lower for a long period of time, for a couple years, and make something happen there. Or maybe it just forecloses. Yeah.
Or you short sell.
Or
guys.
short sell.
Eric, a great, when I talked about walking to the door with your bag of solutions, one of those solutions should be the referral to Matthew Potter or Nicole Espinoza, who I believe are the top short sale negotiators in the country. Matthew Potter works out of Phoenix, Arizona. He does short sales across the country. Nicole Espinoza, she works out of Dallas, Texas. She handles foreclosures across the country. Both of those people, for this specific instance, Eric, if it's not going to work in seller finance because it won't cash flow, if it's completely underwater and they need to have some form of bank involvement, a short sale is the answer here. Laura, what do you think of this?
I actually was waiting for you to take a breath because I have so much to say about this. Do not refer this to just any realtor.
No.
Please refer this to somebody who knows what they're doing, because if you don't, even if you don't care to support Matthew Potter or Nicole Espinoza, you need to care about your seller. And what these two professionals know is that they're going to protect that seller. Because when you do a short sale, you get something called a short sale approval letter. Mm-hmm. And in there needs to be some things in there that protects that seller. So you got to be so careful. And there can be some deed restrictions for that buyer.
Yep.
So if you're going to end up being the buyer, or the buyer is going to be an investor who wants to fix and flip on it, sometimes there's like a 90-day deed restriction that you can't sell it.
That was par for the course.
That was normal.
I mean, they did that on everybody's to prevent investors from
buying it. Yep. So then you end up in a situation to where you're like, okay, I just referred this to Joe Schmo Realtor and it was done wrong. And now my seller still got a deficiency judgment. Like, please, please, please send this to someone who actually knows what they're doing. And I'm not trying to gatekeep short sales. I did them too. But you need to have someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're a real estate agent and you're interested in taking this challenge on and learning, go and work for someone who is doing them, who's known for doing them, and learn. Don't just say, you know what, I'm going to do short sales. This is going to be great for my business because my business is slowing down right now. Go learn, please. Like, you're going to do a disservice to the public if you don't know what you're doing.
Awesome.
Great.
How do you deal with a reverse mortgage that's going to foreclosure?
My gosh, I actually don't know the answer to that one.
Can they go into foreclosure?
A reverse mortgage isn't owned by your seller, guys.
Right.
I don't even think this is a real question. I don't mean this disrespectfully, Anthony, but I don't think that this is possible. My understanding of reverse mortgage means that the reverse mortgage holder is the actual owner of the property now. And so I don't think that they can foreclose on themselves. That's my understanding.
They're giving money to the owner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're giving money to the person on title every month.
Well, that's why I don't know about it then, because I've never had to do it. There you go.
Yeah. Christine, what happens if a house does go through auction and with an overage? What percentage of the overage does the homeowner get to keep after attorney and foreclosure fees, court fees, etc., are paid?
None.
Whatever's left over.
Whatever's
I mean,
left
it depends.
over. Yeah.
It depends on what was. It depends on what was owed,
Mhm.
and depends on what it sold for.
Yeah.
But understand,
then-
Christine, that when they calculate these percentages, when they calculate these fees, okay, first and foremost, it's the entire arrears. It's all of the arrears. It's at a default interest rate. The
Mhm.
attorneys are tacking on like almost criminal fees,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You would not believe how much they will tack on to these situations. And then the court costs. The court cost to
Yep.
do that all is going to be a substantial amount of money. The trustee costs, like all of these things are just so much money. But if there is that much equity, then the seller will receive what's left over.
Yeah. And sometimes we're not like HOA. If you're not paying your mortgage, you're not paying your HOA, you know? Like, I think this overage thing just doesn't really happen that often.
I
you guys.
agree.
Yeah, property taxes,
know.
HOA fees, code violations.
Code violations.
yeah.
Yeah. Those fees can get pretty hefty. So yeah,
I mean,
everybody
any kind
has
of
to be paid.
judgments that's on there depends on where they stack up
Yep.
with their lien.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. How do I help my seller in active foreclosure? But the arrears?
You want to read that question out loud, Laura, for those
Sure.
who aren't watching?
Axel says, how do I help my seller in active foreclosure, but the arrears are too much for the as is value of the house? Well, then in that case, it'd be a short sale, or it would be, subject to with some terms, like they would, allow somebody to take over that mortgage and reinstate it.
Yep.
So it's
Would
not,
you do a loan mod to a sub to?
yeah, that's always a great option. But sometimes these people have already done the loan mod.
Yeah.
A loan mod is always a good idea.
Yep.
Nick Alcantar asked, if a customer is already in foreclosure, is that something that can be stopped or only pre-foreclosures? Is a foreclosure when you put a stop foreclosure on it, and can you pay for it with what's owed? That's I'm going to try to deconstruct the wording here. I imagine, Nick, you might be using your phone. Hopefully you are. But so I think what Nick is trying to understand is the difference between pre-foreclosure and actual foreclosure. So Nick, until the foreclosure happens, it's pre-foreclosure. So it's either pre-foreclosure or REO. There's no such thing as foreclosure.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Foreclosure is the
pre-foreclosure
action.
or REO. Foreclosure is
Yep.
the action. So you're pre-foreclosure or you're REO. So I hope that clears.
What does
that up for
REO
you.
stand for?
Bank owned. Bank owned.
Real estate owned. That means that the bank now owns that property. So if they own that property, you have to go through the bank or their representative to be able to buy that property. And typically it gets sent out to a local real estate agent, real estate broker, to list that property and get as much as they can for it. So to stop pre-foreclosures. Foreclosure is the actual action of it going back to the bank. They foreclose, they take ownership. That's all that is.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about foreclosure, there's no such thing as foreclosure properties.
Yeah. Bank owned at that point. Yep. Or lender or like another real estate agent has purchased them from the foreclosure auction.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do another one. My partner and I may be dealing with a foreclosure lead who may have a mental illness of sorts. What precautions should we take when trying to help them? This is a great question. Okay. Because you cannot have anybody sign a contract who's not mentally capable to do so. So that's drugs, that's alcohol. That's why sometimes when you're dealing with a client, they're like, let's go meet at the bar and we'll sign the contract. It's like, no, you need to be in the right frame of mind.
Right.
But that also takes into account people who are elderly. You need to be very careful with the elderly, very careful. Even if you think that they're fine, those are ones that can bite you in the butt. But mentally ill is one that you need to be really, really, really careful for. So I would start asking some more determining questions, like, do you have a power of attorney?
Yep.
Are you legally, capable to do this on your own? And if you feel like they say they can sign, they say they have the right to their own life, they say that it's okay. Sometimes I actually meet those people at a title company, and I just have a title agent go through the contract with them. Even if it's just the purchase contract. I'm not talking closing documents. I say, hey, come meet me at my title office and, we'll talk to you. And then that way I have someone else who's like a licensed professional sitting next to me that can say, yeah, this person was coherent. They knew what they were talking about. They said that they're in charge of themselves. There's no power of attorney. There's, no sort of, nothing going on. They can sell. They have every right to sell this house in their mental capacity. And, we took their ID, we walked them through it. And in my opinion, that's the way to help you. But usually those people have someone who's helping them out.
Who makes the call? Like, that's my other question and to add on to Justin's question here, because I've dealt with sellers in the past who were absolutely of sound mind, but they were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They weren't mentally ill. They were crazy people, right? So, So who makes who makes that call? Who is it? The title company? Who's determining whether or not this person is of sound mind and not just eccentric or kind of?
I think if you're on the fence, you get a real estate attorney to do everything.
Yeah,
they talk to them, they explain everything, they go through everything.
Yeah,
you need to CYA if you think that it's even close, especially if they tell you that they are mental, and they'll tell you they took a shot to the head, they were in a motorcycle accident, they were diagnosed with autism or Asperger's or whatever else. You know what I mean? If they say certain things to you and it's close, you need to have an attorney present to be able to negotiate that. And I think that most people can have a pretty good gut instinct on those things. If you feel like there's any possibility, especially like you were mentioning for the elderly, I mean, elderly abuse cases are like slam dunks for attorneys.
Oh yeah.
Like slam dunks. You do not want to play in that water at all. So have an attorney.
In that circumstance, guys, do you think that is it good form to ask if they've got a child or somebody that they'd like to have around to help monitor the situation and maybe read over any documents? Does that become a hindrance then with respect to getting a purchase and sale agreement signed and postponing a foreclosure? Would you feel okay? Like, let's just say, for instance, Laura, you're in this situation where you've got an elderly client. You're helping them postpone the foreclosure. So you get the purchase and sale agreement signed. You get the authorization signed. And now all of a sudden you might start to feel like, hey, there may be a little bit of a some kind of dementia or something going on here. Is it at that point, do you think it's okay to ring the alarm and say, hey, I really think we need to get one of your children involved in this to make sure that everybody that loves you and cares about you is aware of what's going on here? Is that the right protocol, or do you have a sequence of events that you like to go through when that pops
Absolutely. You never want to be the one who is like going after the elderly and taking advantage of them. You never want that reputation. So even if it's going to kill the deal, say that kid's going to come in and say, no, mom, you can't sell this house. And then it's like another objection you have to overcome that turns into a whole person who's, concerned about their inheritance. Then I would rather lose the deal than get sued for, taking advantage. Or because that's something that can, come down the line where now mom's passed away in a year. And then, the people who are inheriting her estate are like, wait, where's that rental house in Tempe? Wait, she sold it to who? Wait, who was that person? And then you get sued because it's like, my mom shouldn't have sold that to you. It's just better to default to taking care of them. But if we're talking about pre-foreclosure specifically, you usually can get that child on board still because it's like your mom's going to lose the house anyways. Like if you want to make sure that you get your equity out of this, your mom makes some money and you have something that she can leave behind to you. If you don't let me help her, you're not going to have anything.
Yeah. Right. I think we perform the best, Jamil, when we are of clear mind. And if you want to really junk up your mind, go and mess around with any of these deals that you think are even on the fence, because it'll always nag at you. It'll be like a walnut in your brain, and it'll prevent you from growth. So not only is it just a smart moral decision, it's a smart business decision to not have something hanging around like a sucker fish in your brain, constantly nagging at you, wondering if something's going to happen. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
So make sure a lot of people are involved.
but not to hinder anyone from helping the elderly.
Of
They
course.
still need help. Just use your best judgment. If you think, obviously, Justin, you know this person does have a mental illness, then you need to handle it differently because you know. Let's go to the next question.
These questions are great, by the way. Ashley Aronson's asked, is wholesaling a pre-foreclosure the same in regards to locking down a house at a price with a seller and then finding a cash buyer?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. You just got a time frame on it.
Look at that handsome fella. Look at that. He's got to be at a wedding with that tie.
I know
I'll tell you
Ashley's
that.
handsome.
Yeah, geez, what a handsome devil.
Ashley, go after pre-foreclosures because you're handsome. You'll get lots of
There
contracts.
you go.
Jose
Jamil.
Luis Guerrero asked, Jamil, can you talk about multifamily being in pre-foreclosure and how that might be different from single-family homes? Jose, to my experience, it is the same process. The lender will do the same steps and procedures that they would do if it was a single-family home versus a multifamily home. I think the difference here is that you might be thinking about, well, what about all the occupants there? And so, yes, the key difference is that a homeowner isn't losing their home. These occupants still will have their leases respected. So even though the property is going through foreclosure, it doesn't mean that the lender can take it back. And now all of a sudden the people who live there are out on the street. So it's a little bit more of a protected situation for the occupant. But when it comes to just what's happening with respect to who owns the property and what that process is, Jose, it's the same. It's the same whether it be a single family or a multifamily property.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I remember bidding at the foreclosure auctions, and we would go to all the properties that we were going to bid on to see if they were tenant occupied. You know what I mean? Because you needed to see if that's if you were going to inherit that tenant once the property foreclosed, right? And if they had some crazy lease of paying like $50 a month or something, who knows?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, great question. I haven't thought about that in years. I haven't thought about short sales in years. I'm glad you brought that up, Jamil, because it's like, oh yeah, that's what we did like a bazillion times, right? But it's just, and the worst again, just to reiterate, do not negotiate those yourself.
No.
Find somebody that has a lot of experience and knows the reps and knows the process. It's best for the owner of that property.
Let me scare people a little bit more from doing it on their own. It has to be marketed to the general public, to owner occupants before it can go to an investor. So if you're like, well, I'm going to buy it myself. I'm just going to put in this really juicy offer at this really good purchase price and I'm going to go negotiate it. You could, but you're going to get in a lot of trouble and maybe get some big fines, if not jail time, because you didn't publicly market it on MLS and only accept owner-occupant offers for a certain time frame before you take investor offers. You also can get in a lot of trouble if it comes out that you had higher offers than your offer as an investor and you took your own. Big no-no, there's so much to these. Please hire a professional who actively is doing short sales and knows what they're talking about.
Natalie, where is the line between repping seller as an agent and legally being able to sell as a middleman? I'm a licensed New York City agent, but don't want to lose my license, although I am not with a brokerage now.
Okay, Natalie, I'm assuming you're inactive because you have to be inactive if you're not currently hung with a brokerage. I am a licensed realtor and I've wholesaled, and what I have been told by a lot, number one, you need to be at an investor friendly brokerage, because please do not, because you're going to get in trouble if you are not. You run the risk of having your license severed. You run the risk of a bunch of stuff. If you're not currently active, then you're fine. But what you need to do, and here's what I actually have been told, is you need to tell the seller, hey, I'm taking off my hat. I'm no longer here as a real estate agent. Now I'm going to pick up my investor hat. I am now here as an investor, and I want to talk about giving you a cash offer for your home. You also, best practices, you need to disclose that you not only are a licensed realtor in the state of New York, but also that you're intending to wholesale their property. So, having that in there does not kill your deal. We all should be doing that. None of us should be going into these things if you're not intending to buy the house and take it down yourself. You need to tell the seller what you're doing. and you can do it in a million different ways. The best way to do this is to say, hey, we buy 5 or 10 deals a month. And depending on what we get under contract and depending on what we can take on, we might sell this to one of our investor friends. And then there you go. You've said it, but you need to put it in your contract too. Now, the other thing here in Arizona, my old brokerage just got audited, and my broker actually got fined because she did not put in a purchase contract, in a wholesale purchase contract, that she was a licensed broker in the state of Arizona. She didn't use her brokerage license for it. She doesn't use her real estate license for it. It was a cash deal, it was a wholesale deal, but she still got fined because she didn't disclose her license status. So all you have to do is disclose it. And if you want, and if you still feel comfortable, you can actually physically walk out of the property, like get up and say, I'm leaving now as your realtor and I'm going to come back as a cash buyer. I'm coming back as an investor. You just have to make it really clear your intentions, disclose your status, and put it in writing. Just because you said it to a seller, just put it in your dang purchase contract. It's like 2 sentences. It's good.
There's one more document that you need signed, Natalie, and it's called an unrepresented seller agreement. Okay, an unrepresented seller agreement is a necessity in this circumstance because that's what shows that the seller didn't have agency with you. And it also explains that you are coming in as a principal in the deal. So an unrepresented seller agreement is the other document that you need in that circumstance.
Yeah, what I would do, Natalie, is call whatever closing attorney is doing wholesale deals, right? I think they have closing attorneys in New York. Maybe it's escrow and title, but I would call them up and say, what documents do I need to do business with you, and make it as smooth as possible? So talk to the people that are closing the deal. They're going to really help you out. And if it's an escrow and title officer, ask to talk to their in-house counsel.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then if they're a closing attorney, just say, okay, what is the packet of documents that I need to get signed by the owner of the property so that everything is above board and everything is really smooth? And there you go. That's one phone call tomorrow, couple phone calls, boom, you got it. They send it over. Life's good.
Yep. 100%. Judy J. Hey, Laura, how do you get a commission and an assignment legally? My name is listed on LLC and I always disclose, but the seller always gets upset. So I would default probably towards your broker and just make sure that they understand that you're wholesaling and you're getting assignment fees and that they don't want you to run it through the brokerage as a commission. They shouldn't. The fact that you're getting paid as an LLC and you're a principal in the LLC, the seller gets mad. They shouldn't. You should be disclosing that. You should be saying, hey, a managing member of the purchasing LLC is a licensed realtor in the state of wherever you're at, and that you're intending on wholesaling it, So if you put that in there and you get the unrepresented seller agreement, then the LLC is getting paid the assignment fee just because you're a real estate agent. I
assume the seller's getting upset before they sign. They want to see what I mean? Like I assume that it's in the contract and she's doing everything the way that it should. And there's probably a better way to explain it. Or if you feel like that seller is going to get a wiggly and get, mad about you making a profit on it, then don't assign it. Just double close it.
Yeah, true. Actually.
Right?
Yep.
Jamil?
Absolutely. That would be.
And I think that there's so many missed opportunities before a seller actually getting upset about that you ignored, or you hope that they wouldn't notice. And then they got to the closing table and they're upset. There are so many opportunities for you to have an honest discourse with that seller and explain it to them in a way that they understand. When you go and buy groceries from Walmart, Walmart isn't the one who is going and harvesting the strawberries from the field. There is a farmer who's doing that, who's then selling it to Walmart, and Walmart is brokering it between, the two. So all you're doing in that situation is you're making sure that you're getting that seller what they wanted, what you agreed to. They're not taking any less because you're getting paid an assignment fee. They're getting what they wanted, what they agreed to, what they signed. You're just finding them an end buyer. So however much you make should be irrelevant to them at the end of the day. If you're making a massive assignment fee, like, 50 grand plus, and maybe it's worth it for you to double close.
Massive deals.
While we're still on the topic of commissions, there was a earlier question there that Katie King asked. It wasn't specifically about foreclosures, but I think it's an important question. And it had to do with the fact of closing costs and commissions. And her wholesale contract said that buyer will pay all closing costs, and the title company added the commissions as a closing cost, right? It said Katie King is buying a hotel. We said we would pay all closing costs except doc stamps. Title put both listing and selling commissions on the HUD. On the buyer side, are closing costs counted as commissions? Laura, great question. What do you think?
According to them.
Yeah,
according to the
them,
title company.
I would probably see if there's a listing agreement where the seller agreed to pay the commissions, and that's what I would send to the title company.
Yeah, I mean, the title company's reading that contract, and they're putting what they're reading there. If all closing costs include, you pay all closing costs except for the doc stamps, you're going to pay every closing cost, including that commission, 100%. So you need to, usually that works out unless it's listed with an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it's listed with an agent, you need to make sure that you put that in your contract that you're not paying the agent fee.
Oh, my
Sorry, everybody.
So,
I would see if there's a listing. Apologize.
I would see if there's a listing agreement. Is it Katie? Katie, I would see if there's a listing agreement, and I would, if to be honest, this probably will kill your deal. That's probably your entire profit margin is 2 agents' commissions. So in my opinion, this opens up another negotiation. I know that sucks, but you need to renegotiate with either those agents, like, hey, I was under the impression that this was gonna come out of the seller's proceeds. I would check if there's a listing agreement, and second, I would probably renegotiate, because in that case, the deal is in jeopardy of not closing at all. So, to me, it just is a misunderstanding that you'll never make this mistake again, but I think it warrants a renegotiation.
Guys, I also wanted to just mention here that Monday is extremely dissatisfied with all of you that are watching right now and not liking this broadcast. So please help Monday feel better about you.
Well, I was talking to Monday. You know what she's upset about?
What?
She's upset we only have 465 reviews on the podcast.
Insane.
That's what she's upset about. I mean,
we've got episodes where we have over 1,000 viewers. How many are watching right now across all platforms, Brent?
Just over 500.
Just over 500 of you are watching, and I can tell you that some of you watching tonight have not left us a review.
Yeah.
Well, now
it'll come. Yeah. Okay. She's feeling better about it. All right. So
we went over this earlier, Arturo, but if there is a step-by-step, Laura, that you want to give Arturo, here, let's do it.
To be honest, I probably should try to see if I can get the trainings I've done for this and be able to give it away.
Can I put what I wrote down in my notes?
Please, yes.
Number 1, meet him in person. Okay? This is a very emotional, this is a very personal thing. Try to meet them in person as much as possible. Okay? Number 2, find out about the equity of the property. Number 3 is you got to put together a purchase contract, proof of funds, and seller authorization form. You then need to call the bank, and you need to talk to the loss mitigation in the foreclosure department. And you need to send them all of this information so that you can get the auction postponed.
Yep. It's as simple as that. It just takes a lot of not giving up and Kool-Aid man busting through the brick walls that are put in your way.
They tell you no, you keep going. Keep going. Talk to somebody else. These are people that are working in a call center. They're great people, but some of them just have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if they have a bad day, find somebody that's having a better day and that wants to really help out and save that family or seller from foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where really what you're appealing to is the humanity of it.
Yes.
Everybody understands. And I think everybody on those phones really understands and has somebody that they probably have been around that has gone through that process. So yeah, that's the process, Arturo.
Yep.
Norma, so if the house is in life auction, is it bank owned or is live auction? I would assume, right? Is it bank owned or is that a strategy of agents to get a bidding war?
I would imagine that if it's an auction, if it's a live auction like auction.com,
right?
That's a live auction site where now the trustee is getting, putting the property on the auction block and it's being sold. So I think a live auction, Norma, is the process of it getting sold. I don't believe that this is a process of creating a bidding war for a property. I think once you start seeing bidding wars, the bank has already bought it. The bank, sorry, not
Sometimes-
bought it, but the bank has already taken it back.
Some listing agents do that, Norma. If you are curious who actually owns the property, look at the tax records, see if the foreclosure is active, see who owns it. If it's owned by, if it's bank owned at that point, then you know that it's now, being sold. If it's still owned by the person who has the foreclosure posted, then it's the bank doing the auction. If there's no foreclosure on it and it's just a traditional seller and there's a listing, usually there's a listing that the agent will disclose this property is being sold on an auction. And at that point, it is to get the top dollar for their client, and they will intentionally list it under market value to get a ton of traffic, and it's end buyers that are bidding to get it. And so it's like homeowners. It's people who are actually going to live there. And so you just need to look at the tax records.
That's a great question. I think that we could add a second part to this, Laura, because she asked about live auction, right? But let's just say we aren't at the process of live auction. Say you're in the pre-foreclosure stage, and as a realtor, you decide, hey, I'm going to list this property on the MLS. Is there enough time typically for an end buyer to get a conventional loan to close on this, or is that there isn't?
No. Yeah, there usually is not enough time. And again, you can't postpone an auction until you have an accepted contract.
So
and
really, this is a terrible strategy to do.
Yeah.
Abe, is it possible to utilize all exit strategies, wholesale, creative finance, referral to an agent, etc., starting out with a little money, or should I focus solely on wholesale? Abe, who is in this chat right now? You have people that can help you out with all of that. You can have a real estate agent that you refer business to. That's fantastic. If you have a license, you can get a referral fee. If not, then you get a homie hookup where they just hey, I'm going to send you some opportunities, or I'll go on some appointments with you, or I'll help you comp properties, or I'll share my cash buyer database with you if you send me listings if you don't have a license, right? Creative. I mean, everybody, I think half of the audience is in sub 2, more than half is in sub 2. Reach out to somebody that knows what they're doing and can help you out with those deals. And then, a wholesale. Well, first of all, there's only 3 exit strategies. You assign it, you wholesale it, or for investing. You can obviously list this property, but you can assign it, you can hold it, or you could flip it, right? Those are the 3 exit strategies that you're working with. And so, yeah, if you're going to assign that deal, then you definitely can do that, and focus on wholesale. So I think from a making money standpoint, squat up with somebody that knows creative, and you can wholesale that. Lock it up as a cash offer. You can wholesale that. And if you need to refer it to an agent, refer it to an agent.
Yeah. And I honestly, if you're thinking about exit strategies, these exit strategies where you're saying wholesale versus creative finance, that actually is an acquisition strategy, because if you're going to do a wholesale exit strategy, you're going to need a cash purchase contract that's assignable. If you're doing a creative finance exit strategy, you need a creative finance contract that's either seller finance documents or sub 2 documents. And so I think that your first step and your first concern should always be to the seller and to do the best outcome that will work for them and what they're telling you. So you need to identify the poop, identify the problem, solve the problem, and give them the best option. And then if you need to dispo it, you can, if you're brand new, feel free to wholesale all your contracts, no matter what it is, even if it's a creative finance contract. But at some point, we need to get you to a point in your business where you're looking at your deals and saying, what's the best use of this contract, And so Pace and I reached a point where we dispoed everything with Jamil, everything. We didn't touch a dang thing. But then we reached a point where we were like, okay, should we keep some of these as a rental for tax depreciation? Should we fix and flip this ourselves? And you will reach that point where you can make that call on your best exit strategy based on experience. So first and foremost, do what's best by the seller. And then second, wholesale what you can until you understand it enough that you can then do what's the best use of this property.
That's right.
Great answer, Laura.
That's right.
Yeah. Sean DeCapo said Monday saying, my Uncle Jamil is simply asking you to like and review the podcast. And I asked, somebody asked in the chat how they can review the podcast. Is there a link that we can send people to so that they can leave us a review?
Matt, are you able to put that in there?
Matt can do it for us 100%.
We'll
Have you met Matt?
Yeah.
Matt's got this.
All right.
We did deal with this question already.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he was trying to clear it out. Here you go.
Okay.
Break down the process of what information. You need a contract. You need proof of funds. You need the seller authorization form. You need the phone number to call and ask for the loss prevention and or foreclosure department. Anything else?
I mean, I could honestly just sit here and talk to you guys about this for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have.
Yeah.
And maybe at this point I should sell this for like $100. Like, hey, come get my training that I did on it. Cause you guys, I will sit here when I say I can help somebody. It's because I know I can. I'm good at this. I'm like, it's like I've been like this silent killer where, you know, for years, people are like, oh, Laura knows how to do it. And so I'll have like investors call me and be like, I've got one. Can you help me out? And I'll help people all the time.
I've got a question for Laura, and it's a question that I already know the answer to because I've watched her just completely create the most amazing situation out of this. But Laura, I'm going to give you I'm going to recall a deal we all did together. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So seller is in pre-foreclosure. And there's multiple liens on the property. There's not only the deed of trust, there's Medicare lien, there's another creditor, there's lazy boy creditor, there's all these different creditors that are attached to the property outside of just the foreclosure. Can you negotiate with those other creditors? And what's that process look like?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes, please do. In fact, people all the time are like, oh, the deal's dead. They got a child support lien. No way. I know that maybe that's one of my superpowers, one of the things that gets in the way. It takes a lot for me to want to let a deal die. And I get like super passionate about helping these people. You can 100% negotiate the liens. All you do is have to call them and say, hey, this house is about to get foreclosed on. You're going to get nothing. Will you take $1,000? And we've like negotiated things that were, you know, $40,000 down to $1,500 because they do know they're not going to get jack squat. It's like the easiest thing to negotiate. The other thing too is please, I just did this like a month ago. I negotiated this guy's like $15,000 credit card debt to nothing. I got it completely removed. And then he never signed a contract with us. So if you're going to take your time and you're going to negotiate, don't be an idiot. If you're going to help anybody, it's so funny. This guy was like crying, like, you're my hero. Thank you so much. The second it was gone, he was like, yeah, I'm not selling it to you. He ended up selling it to someone for 10 grand more. And I was like, dude, I'll pay you 10 grand more. Let me have this contract. Like, I'm the one who helped you. It's really funny, but please do not be like me. Get a contract signed and then go ahead and start negotiating those other weird loans and liens.
Amazing.
Pace yourself and get creative.
Ooh,
Says
I like
just starting out and started with agent outreach today. There you go, Jamil. What do you do when an agent wants a personal bank statement with a proof of funds?
Can I
Please
take
help.
this one
Thanks.
because I'm an agent?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
No. No agent should ask you for a personal bank statement. Goodbye. Unless you're buying the property in your personal name, that question is inappropriate. But again, more bees with honey than vinegar or flies with honey than vinegar. But you can say, you know, like, I get it. You want how about we get a bank statement for the LLC that's purchasing this house, you know? And as far as like getting a full bank statement, again, that is inappropriate. That's not done. That's just not done. What if you subscribe to like Adult Friend Finder? Is that still a thing anymore? I don't know. But like, what if you have inappropriate charges on there? Or what if you went to McDonald's 10 times today? I've done that before. I've gone to like, you know what? I'm going to go to Taco Bell. And I'm going to get Doritos Locos Tacos, and then I'm going straight over. I'm getting filet of fish from McDonald's. No one in the comments beat me up. I love that thing. And then I'm going to Starbucks, and I'm getting myself 2 drinks. Maybe I don't want you guys to see that,
your
okay?
life.
So a proof of funds should just show that you are good for the funds, and it can be something as simple as a letter from your banker saying, you know, Get Creative LLC or Pace Yourself LLC is good for $120,000 purchase price or whatever it is. Now, if you don't have those funds and you're intending on getting a hard money loan, you can go to your hard money lender and ask for a proof of funds. And since your name is Pace Yourself and Get Creative and your little icon is a gator, I'm assuming you're a part of the Sub-2 community. Pace has offered a proof of funds if you need it. So I'm sure one of the Sub-2 students can help you get a hold of that proof of funds that you can start utilizing.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for a agent to ask for, because they want to see that you have the cash in your business account, I assume, or personal, whatever. Maybe they got burned before, but I will tell you, they will easily drop that requirement if there's no other offers.
Yeah, that also, it's like you just have to have enough confidence when you're speaking to a real. You want to know what this is? That you just you haven't created enough confidence in the realtor that you're talking to that you can perform.
Yep.
This is nothing short of a confidence problem. Right.
Well, and some of them throw shade at all investors. You know what I mean? So you got to see if that's what's going on and dig a little bit deeper on, what is happening with this agent here.
Yeah.
This is not that market anymore.
I was just saying this. I did a training for Pace's Sub-2 students before I came here. Is anyone watching Lord of the Rings, the TV show that's on Amazon?
Yep.
So the Rings of Power. So there's we're all like, who's Sauron in this? And it's a big guessing game. And there's a character on there who maybe or may not be Sauron, but he said something very Sauron-like. If anyone has read the books or the Silmarillion, whatever it's called, Silmarillion. Is that it? There you go. Blah, blah. But he said that you need to find out what somebody fears, and then you need to become the solution. That's how you get your way with people. And so in a case like this, it's like, why are you asking me for that? What do you want? So you don't have to come out and say that. There's better ways to handle that, but you need to figure out, like, why does this agent not trust you? What do they want? And sometimes it can be something as simple as like, hey, here's a list of the properties that I've purchased. You can see that I own them. I've got 2 listed as for sale that were fix and flips. Or here, let you talk to another agent that I worked with that I did a really good job for and gave her a great solution. Hey, let you talk to this seller. Here's my proof of funds, but I'm not going to give you a bank statement. That's a little inappropriate. I don't want you to see how many times I've gone to McDonald's. Ha, ha, ha. Use my joke. Turn it into a joke. That's like kind of a weird request. I want to be like, yeah, that's inappropriate. I would just be like, hey, do I have to, I don't really think you need my whole bank statement. I don't want you to see how many times I went to McDonald's on Tuesday. There you go. Usually that'll go away.
And if it's your first time, if you don't have a track record, 2 words, squad up.
Yeah, true.
Squad up. Pace and Jamil have traveled the entire world 17,000 times saying, guys, just squad up with people that can help you out, that has that proof of funds, that has that experience, that can show a whole list of properties. Well, I don't want to split my deals. Fine, then figure out another way.
Yeah.
But if you want to get the experience and be around the people that you're going to be able to go back and forth and make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in one relationship, I think you're short-sighted if you say that I don't want to split a deal.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. You want some of something or nothing.
Yeah.
And the answer is you want some of something. You don't want nothing.
Absolutely.
And there's incredible people in every market.
Yeah.
Incredible people. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Pace Yourself and Get Creative said, I'm not a part of the Gator community yet, but I just really love what Pace, Jamil, and Brent are doing. You guys are the best. Well, we love you too. And you are the best for watching.
Yeah,
now,
thank you.
Show us your love and leave us a review.
Thank you, Daniel.
Is that real? That can happen? You guys, that's so nice.
We get tipped all the time.
You guys come in here reliably every week and give you guys free value. That's insane. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
What
Daniel.
I think we need to do, Brent, is we need to take all of the money that people have donated and we need to convert those into ones. And maybe in one of the next episodes, we find ways to put those ones all over you.
I love it.
What if we get one of those?
Because you're the most magic Mike of us all, and so if there's anybody that's going to get the tips, it's you.
I got a whole routine and everything.
Are you going to wear a banana hammock?
Oh yeah. I've got I got a rhino one with a horn and everything. It's great.
Oh my God,
If
I'm sure
Mr.
you do.
TPP doesn't have a banana hammock with bananas on it,
Oh,
I give up.
Here we
so
go.
Good. So
Here
good.
we go. That's awesome. Make sure.
Oh, and
What's
if you're listening to this and you've been hearing a lot of crunching and crackling and guys, we have a special guest with us in studio today. Monday Morby has been hanging out with Laura Morby. She's been giving Laura a lot of advice on how to eat Cheez-Its and open up different packages, and also about for baby foreclosures. I don't even know.
Or
if that's
Jamil with the headphones. I forget because Pace has this like microphone that you can't, if you're like this far away, you can't hear anything.
Yep.
So we'll be farting around in his studio next to him all the time and like just yelling and just chaos. And it doesn't really bother him because he's used to it.
Oh, it's
but
not bothering me at all. I've been loving it. I've been loving it. It's great. Swayam Singla, cool name, asked, "Hey Jamil, I'm looking at houses on the MLS and have hard money and have a hard money loan and have no equity, and the ARV is low, so they don't make sense for innovation. What solution can I provide them?" Ooh. So Swayam, this is a very interesting scenario that you're talking about. So you're talking about listed properties on the MLS that have hard money loans that don't have equity in them. I'm surprised that they don't have equity in them because, first and foremost, I don't know many hard money lenders that will loan on properties that are underwater or are at par, right? And so I would, check your ARV and how you're running your comps on this, because I don't believe that those two things should line up. But let's just say there's a hard money lender out there that's terrible, and they're giving people loans on properties that they shouldn't be giving them
loan to own.
Right. So in that situation, because there's no equity to make to do innovation on it, I would get a hold of the hard money lender. The hard money lender is absolutely aware that this property is listed on the MLS and that this seller is underwater, and they don't want to take the property back. I'm best friends with one hard money lender, but I'm very close to many of them. And I'll tell you, they don't want to be asset managers. Pace doesn't want to take a house back when he's foreclosing. He doesn't want to do that. Noah Brocious doesn't want to do that. Nobody I know want to take these houses back when they're in these situations. So I would absolutely talk to the lender. What do you guys think?
I agree. They're not in the business of owning homes. It becomes more of like a liability, because then it's like, okay, now what do we do? How do we get this person out? We got to turn on utilities. We got to go check up on it, make sure there's no squatters, make sure that the dishwasher's not leaking and ruining the property. So yes, talk to them. But if that really is, if you're running into that so much, it's kind of, to be honest, that's rare, because that's predatory lending. That's like loan to own type of situation.
Yeah,
so
I would.
Hopefully your ARV is a little off.
I think that's what it is. I think your ARV is off.
It could be that. It could be. Listen, there's some hard money. We know a lot of people, Jamil, that have bought properties to flip at the beginning of this year, and they're
underwater now.
They're underwater. They are underwater. And so what I have seen, Swayam, is a lot of them stabilize it with conventional financing, or they have to write a check to sell that thing.
Yep.
They got to write a check and sell it for whatever the market will bear.
Look,
and have to come to the closing, bringing money.
In full transparency, we closed on a property in Florida a couple of months ago, and we just sold it today and wrote a $48,000 check to get it off our books.
Right.
Yep. So that's one thing that I always think of. I actually just talked about this. One of the first times I ever had a seller that owed money at closing, I was terrified. I got that estimated HUD and I had to make that call. And I said, hey, I got the estimated HUD. I looked, everything looks right. Okay, you're going to have to bring a check to closing. Okay, how much? $99,000. Okay, sure. Who do I make it out to? You make it out to the title company. I met him there for the closing. He was laughing. You cannot put your brain in sellers' heads. Just because you think that every seller needs to net 100 grand or bare minimum take home 30 grand or bare minimum take home 10 grand. Some sellers know they're going to have to pay money to sell their house. And you can't think that that's not a thing. It is a thing.
Yep. 100% right.
Family first. I need to knock off this fear. New to this wholesale life, and I'm choosing. Some advice, please. More experienced wholesalers hit me up. Tell me how to get started. You need to have quality conversations with people that own ugly houses. That's how you start. You can literally go down. I'll give mine, Jamil, because yours is brilliant. Go out and drive around your town and find the ugliest houses that are there, and then put them into batch skip tracing, get the phone number, and call them up and ask them if they would consider an offer on their property.
Yep.
If you avoid this thing right here, if you avoid this rectangle, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult to build something strong and fast if you're trying to avoid having conversations. If you're going to leverage other people, if you're going to go and hire a virtual assistant for $3 an hour before you've done it yourself. You need to get into the dirt. You need to go out. You need to find distressed property owners and have a quality conversation with them and ask them if they would consider an offer. And then from there, you pre-qualify them based on 4 things: the condition of the property, their timeline to sell that property, their motivation or what their problem is, and their price.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need any resources, we got a ton at ttpinsider.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Really good ones. In fact, please go to ttpinsider.com. Please.
Jamil?
As another resource, Family First, I'm doing a challenge this week. It starts on Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, goes until Friday, and I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly what you just asked for. I'm going to show you how you, as a beginner, can go and get a deal under contract and then sell that deal for a check. And we're going to take you from the process beginning to end. Sign up. The link is in the chat right now. Make sure you show up there. We are almost out of spaces for that challenge.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. That's nice.
Yes, she is.
Absolutely.
You went bananas on this.
Oh,
I mean,
thanks.
Love saving people from
I
foreclosure.
do.
Yeah.
I do.
You
Mhm.
can tell when somebody's truly passionate about what they do. And I gotta say, Laura, I'm always impressed by you. You got a baby in one hand, you're spitting out fire out of your mouth at the same time. You are by far one of the most incredible women in the industry. And I want everybody to see just how possible being a mother, being a great mother, being a real estate investor, being married to Pace frickin' Morby, on top of that, who's like a whirling dervish of energy, how you can do all of these things. So please, when I hear from people that it's hard or that it's I've got kids and I've got these things, like this is an example right in front of us. Look at this fantastic example of what it means to kick ass and have no excuses. You are by far an amazing female. I love
Don't
it.
gas me up too much.
It's conviction. It's right. Right, Jamil? I mean, it is rare that we
100%.
find something that we're convicted about, and when we do, you can feel it. You can't hide it. It's too bright. You know what I mean? You can't hide that thing. So
I feel like it's my responsibility to help people in foreclosure. I'm so
Sure.
glad that we picked this as a topic because I think it's very for the market and what's happening. I think it's really important that I don't hold this to myself and I empower other people to go out and help sellers because they need it. And you can make a big difference, and it is very emotionally fulfilling.
Sharifa, thank you. You guys are indeed the best of them all out there. You guys truly care about us. I've been in other REI groups out there, and nothing compares to how you guys teach us. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Now, remember, it's not what you get out of this show. It's what this show gets out of you.
Mhm.
You need to go and take the action. You need to go out there and change your community. You need to go out there and change your finances, if that's the spot that you're at, not you specifically, but everybody, right? It's same with books, same with podcasts, same with everything. It's not what you get out of it, it's what it pulls out of you.
Yeah.
And so just remember that none of it matters. Education is we get educated in this business by going out and doing it, by taking the action, getting the results. That is our education. Don't get caught with the distraction of education. Go out and implement.
Mm-hmm.
Implement.
Yep.
Laura,
Don't
Brent,
just consume, produce.
Yep. Yep.
any
100%.
chance you two will be showing up to our Keegley meetup on Wednesday night?
I wouldn't miss it. I would love to be there.
Woo! You guys want to meet this boss lady in person? Come to the meetup this Wednesday night at the Keegley offices. If you don't know where the office is, I'll type it in the
That's our Bobby
chat right now. It's Bobby.
Hey, my
Bobby!
computer can't type in the chat anymore.
Jamil, one more time, tell everybody where you are when you're starting your challenge.
Guys, this Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We are doing help. We're actually helping a first responder who is on sick leave right now because he was injured on the job. And he wants to start being a real estate investor, but he doesn't know where to start. He's so green. He's so new at this.
Wow.
He has no clue where to start. And so we're going to take him from like, you know, nothing to getting a deal done. Guys, if this is where you feel you might be, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are your days. Please go to the Eventbrite, sign up. It's myself and Tariq El Musa from Flip or Flop, from Flipping 101, and he's an incredible guy. We're absolutely going to have a good time. He's hilarious, and we're going to help our first responder friend Ronnie get a deal.
And is that 8 to 10 o'clock Pacific Standard?
Correct.
Fantastic. Right after that, join me for the live show. Unless you've got them, they'll be probably taking so much action. But we go 10 to 11:30 Pacific Standard Time on my YouTube channel called Progress Not Perfection Show, and that's what it's all about. And anything going on? You're going to be live?
Oh my gosh. I think we're actually continuing the elephant challenge, which I know Pace would be a little bit upset if I didn't mention it, but I don't want to confuse anybody. But any sub-2 students, we're getting ready to do the elephant challenge again. Yeah. And so we're going to have fun. We're going to go through the weekend and have a good time and get people sending out their first offers. There's nothing better than that. Taking imperfect action. I love that. Right. You know, I'm a big proponent of keeping up with pace, and it's like my whole life. I'm like, this terrifies me, but you know what? Nike, just do it. And so quit watching this and get out and do it, you know?
Yep. Love it. We love you guys. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Peace. Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing? I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.